Oh God.
Oh my
Do we roll? Do we roll Troy back in?
Oh boy.
Do we roll him back in?
Yeah, Troy
roll him.
is still here.
Bring him on in.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
would you like to
Water's fine.
Join us for a bit.
Hilarious to have him walk.
Yeah, it was a bit odd.
I wish I had my
Troy.
phone because this setup
I
here.
took a picture.
So many cameras on us right now.
Yeah.
And then a giant
I wasn't sure who to look at, the cameras or at Troy.
He doesn't know that he was there.
That's hilarious. Let me
His face
go.
was like off in the distance.
me
I'm like,
see.
well, that's sad.
Yeah, we wheeled out the TV. Troy was still on, so we flipped it around so that the TV was facing us. I was like, oh, hey, hi.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when
such
you
a
just
good
when you
laugh.
wheel the TV off the set and it's like
my God.
facing away, it is just a little bit sad, like you're putting the guest in the corner.
I know.
I know.
Yeah.
That was good. That was great.
No, good show, guys. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you.
Destructor
Thank you.
11701,
I love the
of
backdrop,
course.
by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you just
thank
put
you.
it up?
Yeah. It's got a couple of banners from some old promotional stuff. It's much nicer than just looking at the wall in the back of the room.
Yeah. Looks
Yeah.
awesome.
It's nice to have a little backdrop like that other than just, a bedroom.
I remember Lisa had like little stuffed animals, I think, in her background, or were we talking about cats? No, you had the cat share. Then I think Lisa had a couple of really cute little stuffed animals. Adorable. I would make a Jared Muppet.
Animals.
So let's see.
Animals.
Troy, what is the your favorite project that you guys have started so far? What has given you the most personal fulfillment?
Yeah. The favorite one so far would have to be. See, it's really hard to answer because we've got so many people doing sort of a very large spectrum of things. Because like space is huge. The one that I'm most excited about. Okay, the ones that I'm most excited about that isn't actually, I guess for most people, isn't going to be that exciting. But when you know the team and you know the background, it sort of becomes really exciting. Is actually on the spatial data side. So there's a group of people in Melbourne, coincidentally, that we were working with from Gemini 1. So this is back last year, early last year. And they have been working with a lot of satellite data for a number of years together. And they went through the NASA Space Apps Challenge, which is actually where Gemini came from. We sort of built it off the top of that accidentally. But I didn't really go into that. And so they had this problem where they don't have essentially like a Google Docs for spatial data. So they'd have to have print out a whole bunch of images and have sticky notes everywhere and physically hand them over. And it was really hard. So these guys started developing a platform to share this, all this GIS data and overlay it and work on it in real time. That so far is I think the most exciting thing. Because it's empowering so many people to be able to use satellite data. So if you eventually grab planet data into that, you can do stuff in almost any industry by yourself.
Wow. Yeah, I think that your guys' Gemini program is really cool. I think that's so far anyway. Just looking into you guys, that's the coolest thing that I like about you guys. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to get to our accelerator now because that's where I guess the real interesting stuff really starts to happen because you're sort of a little bit further down the track, and a lot of the people that we had been using as mentors for Gemini are now starting to come in. Will potentially come into our accelerator program. So we've been working with a lot of those guys to make sure that they can do their pitch properly, which is where the communication comes into it. They really understand where their revenue is going to come from, and eventually so that we can help them start raising the funds that they need to do some cool things too. So, for example, a company called Ripple Aerospace. So a couple of the founders are Aussies and they're back in Australia at the moment, but they're actually based out of Florida, doing basically developing sea launch vehicles. And they've just started to test, they're testing the first aspects of that in the ocean. So it's really exciting to see. And we're talking with them at the moment about potentially coming into the program. We're starting to see people that are developing Atomos Nuclear in Space they're in Colorado. They're building, essentially, they want to get to nuclear powered space tugs. and they've started to develop their own nuclear-powered engines, and they've already got started to get contracts for actually selling these essentially power generators to companies that are both terrestrial-based and space-based that they're using sort of to push themselves along that path in sort of a very Elon Musk kind of way of developing the expensive Tesla Roadster and then moving along to making it ubiquitous. There's so many interesting companies that we're just about to bring in to our network as well.
Geez, a legal nightmare for that must be crazy. For that nuclear company.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah. I've had a little bit of chats about it. Nuclear law is not one I'm that familiar with, but starting to read up on it now, because I love the idea of nuclear propulsion systems, and I think that it's the way to go in space. So I think we need to see more companies doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a question I see in here from Destructor 1701. Hi, I'm Athena. By the way, hello. And they actually ask, how do they? I don't know if you know this. How do they get licenses for nuclear materials? I don't even know.
So they have explained it to me. At the moment, I believe there's not too much involved because they don't have incredibly enriched uranium. So they're using uranium, but it's not highly enriched, so it's not too dangerous to work with. I think they might have mentioned that it's something like 5% pure or something like that. So apparently for them, it hasn't actually been very difficult to get access to. But if I tried to explain any more than this, I'd just be making it up, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll find out soon.
Cool.
I do know that it is a lot easier to get the non-weapons grade uranium, but
Yeah.
still a super complicated process, especially if, it might be easier, like if you were a company in the United States doing this, but if you're a company in Australia,
which they are at the moment.
How would you classify it as non-weapons as opposed to weapons? Like, is there really a big significant difference?
There's different grades. Yes, there's different.
So you
there's
can't
different
use a
whole
non-weapon
different grades.
for weapon purposes. What if I wanted to try and
if you tried to use a non-weapons grade uranium,
Okay.
it wouldn't have. If you could even get it to work, it wouldn't have as big of an impact. It wouldn't have as much destructive force to it. That's what they say. And this is my like second grade education on it. So from what I know, but from what I understand, there's so many different types of it, and some are more radioactive than others.
Got it.
And that's why the type of stuff that we use for RTGs, the radioactive thermoisotope generators, is not the same type of uranium that we have in nuclear warheads.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lisa, Mini Stoge, this is exciting. BTW, Moonshot, and TMRO are partnering to host the head of Australia's space agency and some industry leaders to chat about future of Australian international collaboration in space. Check it out Thursday at 8 o'clock UTC. 800
Yeah,
UTC? Okay.
800 UTC.
And so, wait, so if it's like 8:30, it would be like...
That would
just
be
saying
like...
8:30, how would you say that?
8:30.
Oh, 8:30? Okay. Because this morning, the launch I was doing was 23:30, and I just said 23:30, so that would be correct, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Very new at this, guys.
Yeah.
That's awesome, as far as UTC. That's awesome. Cool. Yay. So, yeah, check it out Thursday at 0800 UTC, and there's a link in here.
That would be 1...
Guys, that's so exciting.
That would be 1 a.m. my
Yeah,
time.
that's going to be a really cool talk because so I don't expect many people outside of Australia to be too aware. But so we've been working on, I guess, a space agency in the background since late 2015. And so the people that I've got on this panel, so this is actually one of the first, well, like basically the first time that the head of the agency is going to be coming out and then talking about a lot of this stuff. And so she was leading this expert reference group with the other people that I'll have on the panel, who over the last year have been working to understand, okay, what does the new space industry look like globally, and how do we build a space agency for this? And they put that proposal to the federal government, and just this week they've announced that, yeah, cool, we're going to go ahead with a bunch of these things. So a lot of people are asking. So a lot of people in Australia are either disappointed because it's it's a $26 million budget to begin with, which is very, very small, as we know. And so they're wondering about that because, they were expecting to see astronaut programs and all this kind of stuff. And then there's others that are saying, oh, this is a big waste of money. Why are we doing this? So it's going to be a really great talk to clear a lot of that stuff up because I really, the entrepreneur in me really likes this idea of building a space agency like a startup, where we're just starting with a very small amount of funding. We're going to try to work out what works, because there is no real modern space agency at the moment. There's no space agency that's really worked out, well, how do we deal with this huge commercial industry? And so hopefully with Australia, we can work that out, because we've got a blank slate to work with.
That's awesome. I see Mac in here wrote, I still can't get over your comment, start small and don't be afraid to fail. I didn't even get that advice in my MBA. That was incredible, by the way. That was so inspirational. I love that entire interview. Actually was like watching that part on that was so good.
I was really worried that I'm just waffling, because I'm pretty tired at the moment. I'm like, am I saying words that don't string together? I don't even know at the moment.
You were quite coherent.
So I'm glad it came across.
Yeah, you're gonna sleep all day tomorrow, or I guess today.
This is one of the things with MBAs, I guess, and you're starting to see a lot of universities try to teach entrepreneurship too. Entrepreneurship is something that can be taught, I think, and because it's part of what we do with Gemini in the context of space technology. But it's really something that has to be practiced, and that's why it's a big practical component. MBAs don't really teach you how to build something from the ground up. It's easy. It's much easier to run a company and keep it chugging along, which is what an MBA prepares you for, as opposed to saying, I've got this problem, or the world has this problem, and I'm going to develop a solution that is not just a bit of technology, but it has this whole model around it to make it financially sustainable, socially sustainable, and it can change so you don't end up being a blockbuster with the Netflix coming along or anything like that. And so especially space companies as well, that starting small, it's something that is very possible. Even just talking to people, doing a whole bunch of small experiments as interviews, is your customer and end consumer, go and talk to 1,000 people and run interviews and try to be as objective as possible and have your hypothesis there and collect data so that you can say, look, I've spoken to 1,000 people and I'm being, I'm very scientific in how I did it. And this is why this model is a really good idea. And this is, we're going to make this much money, but we just need this much capital invested to move to the next stage. And that's what we're looking to help people with.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it really does just come with like getting out there, like in the world, like you're even saying, is that you don't really get taught that, how to find out what's wrong in the world and how to fix it. It has to come with, you don't learn that in school. It really is about getting out there and like seeing the world, seeing what's going on, and then knowing that you have enough to actually make an impact. So that was like, that was great. That was super awesome. There's so many comments in here. Let me try and find one. There's so many good things in here. I love this.
I know. This was a good one. Hanny's Forward from Twitch. I swear I will get that name right someday. But they're asking, is Australia doing anything to entice space engineers and entrepreneurs back to Australia? Wasn't really aware they had a shortage. But, in terms of being competitive on the global scale, do you know of anything?
Well, I guess so. I'm actually doing a bit of work with quite close with the new Australian Space Agency, obviously, and we're talking to a few different Australian government departments at the moment, because with this accelerator that we're running, this very first one, so we eventually envisage having these sort of scattered around the world. But I'm based in Melbourne, and that's sort of where the first one's naturally fallen. So we're looking for global startups that have really good ideas and mostly really, really passionate teams to come to Australia at the moment. So if that does match you, this is one of the things that we're working on. If you'd like to come to sunny Australia, this is an opportunity. And if you'd like to work with, we're building. So this is the great thing. We're building a new industry from the ground up, essentially. We've always had all the components, but now it's sort of getting injected with some resources that it needs to really thrive. And so if you want to ride that wave, get in touch with me, because we're offering that gateway to come and let you get involved at the moment.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah.
Don't gotta tell me twice.
But even if you don't think you could make it across to Australia, we do, like I said, we do run the Gemini program, and we will eventually have some more accelerators scattered around. And there are some, in the US, for example, in California, there's Lightspeed Innovations. They're one of our partners as well. They're really good friends of ours. They accelerate space startups as well. So there's different opportunities that are available to you also.
So I'm a little curious because it sounds like you've already reached into some really interesting parts of the world. Do you currently have any startups that you're working with in any region of Africa at the moment?
So a couple of weeks ago, I've had a lot of emails and messages and things like that from people from Nigeria to South Africa and those sort of just sort of around the whole continent, and we haven't really had the ability to run anything there yet. We think we will in Nigeria. So we've got a few partners. So just a few weeks ago, I was in Istanbul. Launching a new thing for a group called the Global Entrepreneurship Network called Gen Space. So there's a new global sort of space entrepreneurship board there. And so there was a group of us that were there, and I met some people from Nigeria. And so we're now going to try to launch some stuff there with them as well. So one of the interesting things about the way that we run Gemini is that it's sort of an online program, but also has that big offline community component. So the online part enables us to scale it up with taking minimal resources. But then we use local mentors and local partners to actually host physical events and get those physical face-to-face discussions happening. So when we launch in Europe, this is what I'm really excited to do. Unfortunately, it doesn't work the same. So we've got a big presence in North America already. We just haven't run the program yet, but we've got a lot of mentors and network there. Unfortunately, the time zones don't really line up with South America, but with Europe, it's perfect with Africa. And so because we run these programs based on zones as opposed to regions, when we're actually running the European program, we're going to be able to leverage all those experts that are in the space industry there, with the European Space Agency or wherever else, because they'll be on the same calls with all of those people that are joining us from Africa. So if you're in Africa, all we need to get you up and running, because we're starting to move towards, I guess, more of a franchise model. This is, we're really empowering those local leaders to take over and try to build this up. So if we've got somewhere, that you can have, in an area, 10 people that can sit around a boardroom table once a week, and then you can find people that are happy to log on to a webcast to listen to the special guest speaker who's talking for that week. Then we can run the program for you, and you'll be able to learn and hear and interact with people who are the space experts of Europe. So yeah, I'm really excited to do that later this year.
Yeah, awesome. Super cool.
Let's see here.
Sweet.
I don't know where Jared went.
I think Jared quit. He's like, well, I'm done.
I'm done.
Goodbye. Farewell.
Oh man. Well, I did want to kind of sorry to derail here for a little bit, but I'm going to be traveling out to the Baltimore, D.C. area. I'm flying out tonight and going to be hopefully attending the Antares launch if the schedule holds, and it launches on Monday morning. And so anyone of you guys that might be watching that are in the Baltimore, D.C., Virginia, Maryland area, I'm trying to host a little meetup tomorrow on Sunday near the Air and Space Museum. So me and Mac will be there for sure. So just trying to get as many people that might be interested involved. So just wanted to put that out there real quick. So you guys can hit me up on Twitter if you're interested, or you can shoot me an email at michael@tmro.tv. And yeah, let's have it a little impromptu tomorrow meetup.
Let's nerd out.
Yeah,
That's so exciting.
let's nerd out.
Nerd out with
I'm
our brains
jealous. I wish I
out.
could come over.
So you mentioned that, Troy, so you have a lot kind of brewing in North America right now. So it sounds like you do a lot of traveling over there. Do you ever come over here in this country?
Yeah. This year I've been there, I think 2 or 3 times already. So for the last, I guess, what's it, about 9, almost a year now, I've just almost been constantly traveling to launch all these programs and to build up our network. And it's always better to meet people face to face, especially when you're creating some of the big partnerships that we are. So I was last there I went to DC for the Satellite 2018 conference. Moonshot was one of the sponsors of the Startup Space Pitch competition, and then I went there to judge. Saw some really amazing startups there. I think 2 weeks before that, I was in the US, or like I had like a week gap where I went to the other side of the world. I was in Singapore and Malaysia, and then I went back to the US again. So before that, I was in California and Colorado. So we're doing a lot of, I guess our biggest presence is probably actually in Boulder and Denver, where they've got a big sort of, I guess, aerospace industry there. We've got a lot of our network there, and there's so many Aussies that are working in the space industry there. It's really crazy. I had no idea. So I've got a lot of new friends there too. So in the US in particular, and I guess the next one after that's probably Houston actually, but I haven't been able to get there yet. When I tried to go there, it was a Hurricane Irma that was there, or Harvey. I don't know, both hurricanes got in my way of one of my trips, which was very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so like the big cities that we'll be launching this program in, because I've traveled there to them multiple times now, is so we got San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Houston, Boulder/Denver. We sort of got it as one but two cities. We've got on the other side Boston, New York, and it'll be somewhere on the space coast of Florida, because Andy's in Melbourne, but we've got a lot of contacts. It's hard because everyone's sort of spread up and down that coast, so we're not sure exactly where we'll run that one yet. And then we've got Toronto in Canada as well, and Waterloo. We're working with the guys at sorry, too early in the morning now. Forgotten.
Oh, I know the sun's probably coming up.
I got a few locations.
Probably coming up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Did you have any other plans today that you had to be awake for, or can you kind of just like sleep for the rest of the day and?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. I tried going to bed a little bit earlier than I usually do, which was really difficult on a Saturday night. So I did get to bed a little bit earlier. So I'll sleep in for a little bit. I've just got some work to do, some emails.
Yeah.
Just it's a busy time at the moment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it feels good because like I think you picked up on our blog. We were really quiet for the first sort of 4 or 5 months, and I'm always really big on trying to communicate what we're doing, and just couldn't get a chance to do it. And so finally, we're sort of able to announce all these little bits and pieces, and there's still more news to come too. So, yeah.
One last question that I did want to ask you is if there is anyone that you could work with, whether it be a government agency or an aerospace company or even an individual, who would you like to collaborate with for a space project? Anyone, anything.
Me personally, or for Moonshot?
Well, both. How about both? Let's start with Moonshot. Who would you like to collaborate with Moonshot first?
Okay, so who I'd like to collaborate with, and we sort of already are with these guys in a way. So Axiom Space. Do you guys know Axiom Space?
Yes, yes.
So Axiom Space, founded by Michael Sabatini, ran the ISS for a number of years. So Emir Blockman, who was one of the founders of the Space Angels, is now their vice president and is raising their first round of funding for their space station. Huge amounts of money. You're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars for a first round. So he's on our advisory board, and I caught up with him when I was in LA late last year. I think what they're doing is, and this is why he reached out to me. There's such a synergy there, because they're trying to develop this space station. They want people to be using it for manufacturing and research and all this stuff, and to be, I guess, as the opportunities open up much more than they are on the International Space Station. And for us, we're trying to cultivate all these new companies with commercial business models to do exactly that. So, and just the idea of someone having a commercial space station is absolutely still hard to comprehend, but they're actually doing it. So we sort of are working with them in a way through our connection with Amir, but that's just such a cool project. In terms of personally, I mean, that's definitely still there. Personally, I'm really excited by the idea of space mining and space manufacturing. To be able to find materials in space, whether it's recycling stuff that's already up there, like satellites, and sort of using them for parts, whether it's mining new materials and being able to process that, and having essentially autonomous manufacturing in space that's really cool stuff. Yeah,
awesome.
I'd love to be working with someone that's doing that.
Very cool. Very cool.
Dope.
Well, I think we're gonna have to cut this short, though.
He's like,
we're
"Oh,
gonna have
thank
to wrap up here. But thank you very much for coming
the
on.
sun's
This has been a
rising.
great interview, and thankfully your connection was really good this entire time. Normally, y'all,
Yeah.
our Australian
Oh,
guests
good.
have,
I was really worried.
Australian bandwidth. So,
No, for sure.
but
Thanks
yeah,
for
Guys,
coming
no,
on.
yeah, well, thanks very much for having me on the show. And I'll come and say hi to you guys. I'm going to be in California in around September, so I'll reach out to you guys and yeah.
Yes,
Awesome.
please. That would be amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Awesome. We'll get some sleep now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much,
Bye, guys.
and
see
thank
you
you.
later.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
Troy. Thank you. Yay, September.
And thank you to everyone. I think we're pretty much all wrapping up here. Was there anything else anyone wanted to?
We have 2 space pods to do.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
space
yeah.
pods. I'm just like, all right, turn off the cameras, everyone. Let's go home. We got space
closing it
pods to
up.
do. Oh yeah.
I closed out of rundown.
I'm gonna get out of the way
Space
then,
pods,
so y'all
pods,
can.
Do your thing.
Actually, let's exit out and we'll just do space pods off air. And then it will be a surprise for everyone when they get to see them.
Yay.
There you go.
Okay, cool.
Goodbye, internets.